First of all,
this is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
It might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the Sports Guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. Doubleheader of the BS Report this week. If you haven't heard it, we had Jimmy Kimmel and Jay Adande on to talk about the finals and some other stuff. For this one, we're going to have my buddy House going to talk about the finals. But first, Mike O'Malley, who you might know as the Rick from the ESPN ads, actor, comedian, celebrity Boston fan, one of my favorites, and just about as excited for Celtic Lakers finals as I am. So we're going to have him on right now. Mr. Mike O'Malley, how you doing?
What's happening, Bill?
What a time for Boston sports. I had to have you on.
It's thank you for having me on.
It's been a long time coming, and in fact, our respective agents have been negotiating it really for the last year. Our managers, our handlers.
Yeah, they have. Well, it's always good to be on when the Celtics are in the finals. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, 3 straight. I mean, do we count the Bruins anymore as one of the local teams?
No, well, it's just like I love the Bruins, but no, it's just like there's only so much punishment you can take when you're at home. You have 3 kids. There's only so much time if you're not actually writing about sports for a living to say, "Hey, man, I got to watch this game tonight too."
I am fine with the Bruins comeback as long as the owner rises up to the occasion like the owners from the other 3 teams have. And when that happens, I will be back. I'm kind of sort of back now because I did follow them during the playoffs and kind of jumped on the bandwagon. I enjoyed watching them. I think they have a good young team, but I really wish they would sell.
You wrote about it in a recent column just about just how, that being back in Boston and the fans and the owners, I mean, you weren't even aware of really the owners growing up. You were aware of their personalities, but It wasn't this, we love our fans and we want to have this experience. And, there certainly wasn't the kind of, merchandising and the clothing and heck, people just keep going back. They want more jerseys. They want more hats. They want more coats. They want everything. It's really great to be able to go back to Boston and be amongst, like-minded people who, you realize you're not so crazy to be so intensely, involved in a sport and following a sport.
Yeah, the 3
entire regions back there.
Yeah, the owners, the current owners, and you're right, I wrote about this recently, but they've tapped into something that had always been there. And for whatever reason, the Sullivans owned the Patriots, they could never figure it out, and then the couple people that followed them. The Red Sox were owned by first the Yankees, and then the team was like in limbo, and somebody bought it. It was like a trust, and then, they never cared. And then with the Celtics, I honestly couldn't even tell you the names of the owners that we had other than John Y. Brown, who almost drove Red Auerbach away. But it was always these nameless, faceless people. You never knew what their intentions were. They didn't really care. They just and now all of a sudden you have these 3 owners that pouring money into the stadium and they know how to merchandise the team. They interact with one another. It's just totally different. I said it was like a college campus.
Yeah, and I also feel that, there's something about, let's be honest. I mean, winning obviously makes that a little bit easier. But one of the things that's happened in Boston sports is that you've had a couple of these individuals, like Tom Brady, David Ortiz, Curt Schilling, these guys who, despite this, gargantuan mountain of negativity that would seem to kind of overcome a crowd when, as if doom was about to happen at a certain point. They really changed that because they were really, really big individuals who I think, were ready to take that on. And we're like, hey, man, all right, I'll take this on.
Yeah.
Now, I was amazed in 2003 when, Grady Little was talking about how, in that game, and he sort of mentioned it, I think, in a interview afterwards, that everyone was kind of thinking about making an error at the end of the game because they were playing for the Boston Red Sox. And, I can't quote him on this, but, and people were like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? It's just like, is this really what it's like to be a Boston sports fan? Like, when the things are on the verge of happening that are, that are really great, you just think, oh, it's going to fall apart. Look at that Celtics game the other night. I mean, people were just like, oh, here we go. We're going to have the biggest loss in, NBA history, the biggest collapse. And I think that, Red Sox fans especially and Boston fans have gloated over their comeback from 3 down against the Yankees, that now we're just waiting for something bad to happen to us. And, some people will say, well, that was losing in the Super Bowl. But
my theory is it's in the DNA, and the only way we're ever going to overcome it was a really particularly fluky win. And I think we had 2 of them. The first was the Super Bowl, being down, being 13.5-point underdogs or whatever they were. Just to have that sneak up and nobody to expect it. That's really the only way the Patriots could have won the Super Bowl. We would not have won as a 3-point favorite or a 3-point underdog. It had to be something completely random like that. And then for the Sox, coming back from down 3-0, when it really you needed a shift of karma that bordered on once in a lifetime. That was really the only way people were going to buy into it.
Yeah,
and by the time we got to Yankee Stadium, everybody honestly thought we were going to win those 2 games.
Yeah,
I don't see any other situation where it would have unfolded like that. And as you said, now it's kind of back a little bit, and I think it's really because of that Patriots loss. Because, for once, everyone was walking around with the puff chests.
Yeah.
Everybody think, oh my God, we're title town and we're unbeatable. And then that kick in the groin came out of nowhere. Now
that was, but it was the absolute, just like you talk about with saying that it had to happen in such an unbelievable way for the Red Sox, to win. That that scramble and that catch. I was at the game. It was the most unbelievable. It was the greatest play in Super Bowl history.
It was remarkable.
It really was. And you kind of just, I have friends who are they're so devastated that the Patriots lost. And I'm like, hi, devastated? We have won 3 Super Bowls in the last 7 years, 3. And to say that you're disappointed, wish it didn't happen, went to the game, spent a lot of money, wish I saw a win so I could say I was there. To say you're devastated, that's 86 Red Sox devastating.
I have bad news for you.
You were devastated.
Well, here's why. Because it was my dad's 60th birthday gift, and he'd taken me to so many games over the years, and it was one of those things where I was able to work some connections and bring them, and we were going to see the 1900 season happen.
I'm talking to a guy who wrote a book called Now I Can Die in Peace.
I know, no, but I'm just saying, I never saw it coming. I think anytime you don't see something coming as a sports fan, it's going to be, there's going to be ramifications, and I agree with you.
You didn't think that when they had 2 minutes and 20 seconds left, after Moss gets the touchdown, that you didn't think that you didn't see something coming, you didn't feel something bad, you didn't.
I was worried.
A lot of time.
I was worried that there was too much time left, but I took solace in the fact that Eli Manning was the Giants quarterback, and you know what else? I was feeding off the Giants fans, and there were a lot of Giants fans there. The Giants fans were not confident. It was not like, you go back and you watch Game 4 of the 2004 LCS, and you'll notice a strange, kind of surreal sense of confidence with the Fenway fans, and all of them stayed. All of them were really hoping that they could turn it around. Giants fans not confident, and then that helmet catch happened. The helmet catch happened, and the switch went off, and all the Giants fans were like, oh my God, we might win this. And you could just feel it, and you could feel something horrible was going to happen.
And it did.
Yeah, and it did. It did.
But you were devastated, like you couldn't get out of bed, kind of like the next day?
No, because I had to write a column the next day. So sometimes I go into that Kobe mode where I just become cold and I shut off all emotion. And 2 days later, I got sick. And I was the most sick I think I've ever been in my life. I was sick for 3 days. I had 104 fever, and I'm convinced it was because of the game.
Oh, man.
I really am. It actually made my body sick. It gave me a cold.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Professional sports, it's beautiful.
Well, you're a little older than me, though. You're in your mid-50s.
I'm in my mid-50s. I'm 41. I'm 41.
No, you're just I'm with you. For me, it was just because my dad. If I had been there and I was just whatever, like it was any other Super Bowl, I think I would have bounced back quicker. But
well, I think it was I think that one of the things that made it probably more disappointing than if they had lost, against the Eagles or what have you, was all the criticism that they're getting, and rightfully so that they're getting criticism. I think that, one of the reasons that I watch sports is because, I grew up watching it. I love it. I love the competition. I love that you really don't know what's going to happen. But if you swing from following a team and rooting for them when they're not good, and then having a tremendous amount of pride in them when they do well, I think the flip side is that you can feel a real shame when things are not above board. And I think
like Spygate you're talking
about.
about.
The Spygate. And I think that, I don't, necessarily know, they're my team. I'm not going to change my team. I wish it didn't happen. It's just like when you hear the guys that, you rooted for, are accused of doing steroids. You wished it didn't happen. And I think that I had kind of plugged in as a fan with, okay, well, let's win this year. Let's have this undefeated season. Let's be able to say that we won all this and did all this without, being able to tape anybody's signals. It doesn't matter. It really was the team.
Right.
But I think now it's just going to go down to this kind of, these ridiculous things that people say that, they had to lose because it was a deal they made with the commissioner and all this other stuff. It's just, that was the thing. It was almost like you're hunkering down, now walking around with your Patriots hat and people are like, hey, you cheated. I mean, that's just like a whole nother flip side to me and a fan that you just never expected would happen.
Well, and also, you don't see that many Patriots jerseys or Patriots hats anymore because, especially in Boston, I was shocked. I mean, it's really all Red Sox jerseys and Celtic stuff now, and you rarely see. When I was there for 5 days, I don't think I saw a Patriot hat.
Yeah.
It's kind of, and, I think it's more of I compare my teams to family members. Like, I really feel like you're going to defend your family member whether you agree with what they did or not. And in this case, Spygate was like having a brother who was convicted of cocaine conspiracy, selling conspiracy, 8-year prison sentence. And you're like, you know what? I don't really agree with selling drugs, but he's my brother. I got to support him.
That's a great way to put it.
But I don't agree with I don't agree with what he did. It makes me feel bad about being a Pats fan, and I almost feel like I did something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And it's unfortunate because it everything was rosy. But then I would really like to see the commissioner or somebody. I mean, this whole thing with like destroying the tapes, and you're not hearing the other owners really talk about it. Are there just tapes of other teams taping? It's just, let's have a huge Senate hearing. Let's have it, man. Every tape from anywhere, from any unauthorized or authorized tape that any fan or employee from any team in the NFL, let's just have it all out. Let's have it all out right now.
And that's the one thing that I've harped on, and the point that I've tried to make is that, the Pats cheated, they got caught, they paid a penalty for it. It's over.
Yes.
Now, for anybody to think that they were the only one of the 30 teams that was not up to any sort of chicanery is insane. Football, out of all the sports, probably lends itself the most to cheating and doing stuff and taping people and trying to steal signals and doing everything you can to get an edge. I think anybody who thinks they're the only team that was up to anything has their head in
but
the
here's
sand.
the thing: they're the only team that got caught, and that's
true.
And so they're the only team that got caught, and maybe now that Goodell was really wanted to certainly did send a message to everybody. It's like get rid of. But I just don't understand. If you had taken pictures from the press box, from the roof, you're able to
do it, right?
You're able to have a guy who's lip reading. It was an article. Shanahan when he was in Denver had a guy who there's an SI article where we used to hire lip readers. Why steal signals at all? Why have a lip reader? Why have pictures of what the formations were?
Well, I've written this before, but it's. If there was no cheating going on, then why are all these coordinators sticking their play sheets over their faces when they call in plays? Are they doing that just because they have bad breath? Like, what's the reason for that? Obviously, it's because people cheat. Stuff happens.
But is that cheating? It's that, why have signals? Why even have it? I mean, I understand. Look, there's no excusing what the Patriots did, but it's like the idea that you even have to call out signals so somebody else doesn't know what you're doing. It's just, see, this is where I go. I go down the tunnel, and I just get upset, and I take things way too personal. I'm a 41-year-old man with 3 children, and I'm talking to you about Spygate in the middle of the Celtics being in the finals.
I got to tell you something. You were a big influence on me in terms of when I was thinking about making the move to L.A. to write for Jimmy Kimmel's show, and we had met a couple times, and I have to say the number one thing I was afraid of was losing touch with the Boston sports scene and, not being near my teams and, feeling like, what if my young kids were out here 3,000 miles away from where they should be? How would that? And you calmed my nerves with all that stuff. And I think, you've been one of the most visible Boston sports fans of any celeb, but you've somehow managed to maintain that fandom out here.
Well, I think it's a lot easier. When I first moved to New York, you didn't have DirecTV, you didn't have the internet, you weren't able to get, now you have, it's like you were talking about, it's like you're able to watch a game on your Trio, that's a sling box from your, you can watch it anywhere, and you can get, your information anywhere, and I think it's a lot easier to do. I've been trying to educate my kids. It's like, they're going to school in Celtics jerseys, and everyone's here, from out here in L.A. It's just like, oh no, we're L.A. fans. Why aren't you an L.A. fan? You're born in L.A. And I'm like, well, your dad is not. So you're.
Well, how do you? Well, that was my next question. So you've basically brainwashed your kids because they're out here and they should want to root for the home team, but this is not the home team.
Yeah, it's like the memory. My kids do memory lessons by naming the Red Sox lineup.
What are some other tricks?
You just buy them a ton of jerseys and you tell them they can't have any candy unless they root for the Red Sox.
Yes, I agree with you. Because everyone was always like, well, what if the kid, decides they like the Yankees to try to get back at you? And to me, that's a kid that just hasn't been disciplined enough.
Well, how about this? Then you just really, you haven't been doing very good parenting if they don't want to hang around and be like you. I mean, if what they want to do is be angry at you, I mean, then what are you doing? Maybe you should get some different parenting methods.
I just remember being a kid and anything my dad would have done, or anything my dad liked when I was 4, I liked.
Yeah, same here.
He was my dad.
Yeah.
I would have followed him into a ring of fire.
Exactly.
Of course.
Yeah.
So I don't see how my kids would not end up being Boston fans.
No, they're just, the games are on, they know the guys, and that's what they're into. I mean, it's awesome.
But what about, how do you handle the whole thing about taking kids to like a Laker game or a Dodgers game?
Well,
and stuff like
it's
that?
Interesting because I had tickets to go see like the Angels and the Red Sox, but I didn't want their first experience at a baseball game to be down at the Halo, which is what they call it out
and
here.
It's awful too.
Yeah,
it is an armpit.
It's not bad. It's not.
Oh,
bad.
stop it! It's an armpit. It's a terrible drive to get there.
If you want to get tickets to a playoff game, and someone might be listening to this podcast from.
I know. I don't care. I'm not going to apologize. It's a terrible drive. It's an ugly stadium.
Wow.
I don't like it. No, I know
like
you're being
it as long as the
diplomatic.
Red Sox win, Bill. What can I tell you?
So how did you handle it? How did you handle the kids taking them to new stadiums?
Well, no, I haven't taken them there yet. I'm going back to Fenway this summer to do an event there, and they're going to be able to run around on the field, and that's the only reason I'm going back is so they can run around on the field, so they can say that they were at Fenway. But
interesting. So your theory is just shield the kids from the opposing stadiums and then bring them to the Boston stadium.
Yeah, bring them to the Boston ones, and that's when they can have cotton candy. They're not even paying attention to the game, by the way. I mean, my kids are 5, 3, and 1. It's they're like, where's the cotton candy guy's in row 11? He may get to me in 15 minutes if he keeps going up and down the aisle. That's what they care about.
Yeah, I took my daughter. I wrote about it, but I took my daughter to a Clippers game, and all she cared about was the jumbotron, popcorn, and soda.
Yeah,
it was really it. Nothing really else mattered to her. So hopefully that will continue. But I do.
Let's talk about for a second. Your mention of the worst case scenario for a Boston fan is a 295-pound guy who looks like me. Now,
no. Here's the thing.
Listen.
All right, you go ahead.
You got to understand. I'm like a hamstring injury and like 5 steak bombs away from being 295 pounds. So I am not that far off.
No.
Being the worst case scenario of a Boston fan.
Well, here's why I picked you for a couple reasons. First of all, you have the most Boston-y face to me out of any record. You just look like Boston. I look at you. You and my buddy J-Bug are the two people that I look at, and I just think I'm looking at Boston.
Yeah.
And then you had the whole Rick thing, which
Yeah,
you did on
Rick.
ESPN, where you were the identifiable Boston fan. So I slapped on 100 pounds and made you a drunken idiot.
No,
And
see,
that-
here's the thing. At certain points of the year, you only slapped on 75 pounds. And clearly, like I said, one leg injury, and it's about 40 pounds. So I'm not that far off.
You've gotten pretty close behind the scenes with some of the Red Sox players and the front office people. Has that changed the way you've followed the team at all?
I became. It has in the sense that one of the guys who I met at a couple charity events, who's just a really tremendous guy, is Johnny Damon, and he had back in 2004 he had taken me down to the field, and we were able to do some batting practice and stuff like that. And so I was really disappointed that he left, but selfishly so, because I had a guy that I got to know. I think that
You felt like he broke up with you.
yeah, he broke up with me by going to the Yankees. But I can't root for him when he's on the Yankees. I can't root for him. I can't root for him to do well. I want him to do personally well in like a game if they're down by 9 runs and he's up. You know what I mean? Like he had 6 hits the other day. I feel happy for him, but I would have been happier if the Yankees had lost.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's the one I can't root for just because of the team he plays for. But I do follow Keith Folk, who I still think to this day was the most underrated guy in 2004 with the number of pitches he threw in that Yankee series was ungodly. And
Yeah,
then basically
he was
that
unreal,
ruined his career.
and just how classy he was with Cleveland last year, like not taking the money and saying, "Look, I'm not going to take this money. My arm's shot." He's a very unique guy. But I've gotten to know Kevin Youkilis is a great guy, and some of the other guys. They're just these guys for the Red Sox. They're the most famous people in New England. They are bombarded with charity requests and things to do all the time. And I think it's different. I think there's a lot of people who are Patriots fans who, and certainly there's a lot of people who are watching the Celtics in the finals and they're getting out their gear and everything. They don't know who half the guys on the team are.
Yeah.
And, part of that is for the Patriots, the guys wear helmets. They know who Tom Brady is and Randy Moss and Teddy Bruschi, but they wouldn't know who, an inside, linebacker is or, another one of the guys on the line. They couldn't name. For the Red Sox, everybody from, the 25th guy on the roster to the guys who are even down in AAA, everybody in New England knows exactly who they are and what they look like and where they are and what they're about. They're the most famous people in New England, and they're just bombarded with stuff. And
even beyond that, in Boston, people just come up to you and start talking to you.
Yeah.
Here, there's this whole code of coolness where you see the famous person, but you stay away from them.
Yeah, you don't
Not in
mention
Boston.
anything. Yeah,
If you're Wes Welker and you're walking down Newbury Street, people are going to come up to you.
Yeah, without a doubt, and say, "Hey, what happened in the game?" And people are cool. I mean, they love it, but
they feel like it's one of the things that makes Boston great is they really feel like they're part of the teams.
Without
so they
a
see
doubt.
Wes Welker and it's like, hey, that's my teammate, Wes Welker.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they're going to go up to him and talk to him. But it is like, so you've been in LA for how many years?
I moved to LA in '98.
So do you think LA gets a bad rap as a sports town? Decent rap?
I don't know because I don't pay. I went out and I split some season tickets for the Dodgers with some folks, but I'm not really. I'm not really emotionally invested in it. It's just kind of a thing to go out and do. I think that Laker fans are very, very, very passionate. I think that they're, I don't think that, I think they're used to winning. I think that they know the game, and I think they absolutely love their team. Angel fans are, very passionate out here too, and I think part of that is because they won the World Series a few years ago.
Yeah.
But I don't really participate in the Los Angeles sports radio
community.
Yeah, I listen to Dave Damashek, who I think is hilarious. But
look at you.
He is hilarious, and I'll listen to Jim Rome, but he's more of a national guy. But I don't really, I'm not really plugged in like listening to talk radio, which I would be doing if I was back in New England listening to EEI.
All right, we got to run. So 2 quick things.
Yeah.
Prediction for the series.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's going to be Celtics in 6.
And promote your new NBC series.
I have a new show on NBC coming out this fall called My Own Worst Enemy. It is it's a spy show, and it's an hour long. It's on after Heroes, 10 o'clock on Mondays. Stars Christian Slater.
Nice.
And I play his best friend, and I hope to get up to 295 pounds, and my head will be shaved.
You got to get a personal trainer. Go the other way. Get down to like 195.
I'm trying, but there's too many bear claws, on the craft services table, and I have no discipline.
You got to ask Slater about Pump Up the Volume and how it's really one of the 5 most underrated movies.
Bill, you can ask Christian Slater. I'll get his email.
All right, I might have to ask him because I really feel like that could have been a TV series. The Renegade
Pump Up the Volume, the TV series?
Yeah, the Renegade radio disc jockey.
Harry.
Yeah, Hard Harry is on the radio. Nobody knows who he is. He's affecting the school. I could have watched that for 11 episodes.
Yeah, see, you know your movie stuff,
I do.
I'm like me. It's like I'm sitting here in an audition with Christian Slater. I'm like, hey, Christian Slater, and it's like, oh yeah, now I'm doing a show with him. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I will. Well, I'm gonna have to get that email because I might have to pump up the volume with the podcast with him. The original Hard
clearly,
Harry.
we'll see how many hits you get for this one.
Yeah, all right, it's gonna be good. All right, I gotta let you go.
Bill,
we're gonna have you on again during Red Sox season.
And maybe hopefully we'll be celebrating Celtics victory soon.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on, Michael Ballard.
Thanks, man. Peace.
All right.
It's Joe House.
What's happening?
What is happening?
On the podcast, wanted to get your take. I didn't want you to be left out.
I appreciate it, although I'm feeling a little squeezed. I have to hustle out of here in about 15 minutes.
I know. Well, you're going to give me 15 minutes, and then you can go back to your real work job.
Thank you.
Give me your take after 3 games.
I personally have found it very compelling and enthralling and engaging. And I also like this little spice that's come out of the Donaghy revelations isn't the right word.
Do you feel vindicated at all since we've been talking about that 2002 Game 6 for like 6 years since it happened?
I don't feel vindicated. Everybody's been talking about that Game 6 for that whole period of time. A cynical person could say it was easy for Donaghy to just point to that and sort of try and leverage that in. He didn't name any names or offer any specific evidence of anything. He just picked 2 of the easiest games with the most sort of obvious discrepancies.
And that's why I handed in a column for Wednesday, and I wrote that I do not take these things seriously because the guy's a scumbag, and he brought up 2 of the most obvious situations that he could have brought up. I take nothing from the whole thing. That's
exactly right. But reintroducing those games into the public eye for sure is going to have some effect. I mean, I thought Mark Stein's column today was pretty good in terms of, the optics of that in the context of what we've seen this series. I mean, I was with one of my sort of diehard NBA buddies last night, and he for sure knew that Boston was going to win Game 2 because that's the only way you get to 6 or 7.
Yep.
And that's different from what you and I talked about, the possibility that it might go the other way. But
I did. I thought they were going to screw Boston over in Game 2 and then take care of them in Game 4 or Game 5. And in fact, they went the other way and took care of us in Game 2. And yeah, I think they want it. The weird thing for me is I've met most of the people that run the NBA, and they're all like good people. Like, so it's hard for me to fathom that they're behind some closed doors, like evilly, like Ben and Lost trying to come up with some evil strategy. But at the same time, if you're the league, you want it going back to Boston for a Game 6, up 3-2, down 3-2.
Yes. And
then the game can be called accordingly depending on who you assign to that game.
That's right. And, with a goal of a Sunday Game 7.
No, it'd be Thursday.
Oh, Thursday.
Yeah. Which is even better. That's the biggest TV night of the week.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they handle Game 4 because Game 4, I wrote this in the column I just handed in. Game 4, I think, will be by far the best game of the series, the most competitive, the best played. The teams kind of know each other at this point. They know what to expect. They know what works and what doesn't work. So it's a game that the refs could swing because I think both teams are going to show up. So hopefully we'll get a good game.
That's right. I'm already predisposed to thinking that LA is going to win Game 4. I think Game 5 is going to be the game that decides who wins the series. And so, we could make guesses right now as to who the referees would be, but I don't want to add anything to this conspiracy theory talk.
It's easy to guess, though, because they only have a 12 official pool for the finals, and 3 of those guys are used as alternates. So we'll probably see the same crew we saw in Game 1. Like, I think that's how it's going to work.
We haven't seen Javi yet, have we?
No, and in fact, that helps the Celtics if you see him in Game 4 because he has famously feuded with the Lakers over the years.
Yeah.
And that's probably like if you're a Laker fan, other than Bob Delaney, who revealed himself to be a Celtic in Game 2, basically. If Steve Javi is probably the number one guy they would not want to see. And for the Celtics, it was Bennett Salvatore and Joey Crawford on the road was their worst case scenario, which we also saw. So.
Yeah, well, let's stop talking about this because
Yes.
I prefer to talk about the basketball.
Yes, please do. Thoughts on Lamar Odom through 3 games?
Who's Lamar Odom? I don't know who that is. Has he played in these games?
He has. He's the guy, the nice-looking guy with the shaved head who misses every shot he takes.
Oh, the guy who disagreed with his coach.
Yes, that
and
guy.
His coach called him out.
Yeah, who didn't understand why he was being called out.
Not showing up.
I just had Jay Adonde on the podcast preceding you, the previous phone call we had. And
yeah.
Jay was saying that he likes this series because every character in the series is flawed in some way. Like KG's got his crunch time thing. Ray Allen doesn't show up for every game. Paul Pierce, has a lot of good things and a lot of bad things about his game. You got Odom, you got Gasol, you got Kobe's flawed as a teammate. It's just a series of flawed players. I thought that was kind of interesting.
I totally agree with that. That was going back to that conversation I had with my buddy last night. He was expressing some frustration over the fact that these are 2 flawed teams. I said from my point of view, that's what's making this thing so compelling because you really can't guess which way the thing's going to go. On any given night, which, sort of unheralded guy, your so-called aberration guy, is going to show up, out of the blue. It's really very unpredictable game to game, what's going to happen. I mean, acknowledging the fact that these are 2 sort of very flawed teams. The performance of, I don't want to just call them the foreigners, but I mean especially Gasol, Vujacic, and
Radmanovic.
Good God!
You can call them the foreigners.
I'm going to call them the foreigners.
Doesn't make you xenophobic.
I just don't have any stomach for it.
Yeah. Did you see the Vujacic flop? That one flop he did on Eddie House.
It made me want to throw something across the room.
Here's my question for America: if you're an unbiased, you don't care either way who wins this series, and you're just watching it because you love basketball. How do you not root for the Celtics over this Lakers team? What is likable about this Lakers team? These guys bitch after every call. Every call. Every call. They have none of the guys on the floor have committed a foul for them in this series. And on top of that, you have Kobe, who was, really selling out his teammates in Game 2. I just don't understand how you could support any of this.
People love Kobe. You can't forget that.
I know.
The people love Kobe. I don't know. I certainly, the Boston team resonates with me more than the LA team.
At least you have to admit we got likable guys.
More likable. I mean, nobody can dislike Leon Poe, so that was nice.
KG is almost like this tragic figure at this point.
Yeah,
the guy's terrified to shoot last night. How do you not feel bad for that guy?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who say, so that's the real KG. That's the KG. Here he is finally on a primetime stage, and he's, sort of not the superstar that the league has crafted him to be the past 11 years.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because in the column that I handed in for Wednesday, I was talking about the comparisons of KG in the finals to Elvin Hayes in 78 and Karl Malone in 97-98.
Yep.
You were a Bullets fan in 78. Elvin Hayes, great numbers. You look at him career-wise, you think he's one of the best forwards, but you were there. You were a Bullets fan. Not a guy you trust in the big games, right?
No, that's right.
And you won the title with him on the bench for the last 8 minutes of Game 7 because he fouled out.
The eerie similarity there. It feels like in the same way, everything you get from KG in this series feels like gravy on the offensive end.
Right.
I mean, defensively, he's still all over the place.
Yep.
But on the offensive end, watching him make 2 shots in the first quarter has got to be a thrilling experience for Celtics fans.
Well, you think of these guys that come into the finals and they have their reputation as they don't come through when it matters. And a lot of times it almost gets magnified in the finals. Like whatever perceived flaw they had that people talk about with being clutch or not being clutch goes up.
And that's one thing that I really have enjoyed about these finals. And it's the thing that, to me, most confirms the fact that everybody should stop talking about MJ and Kobe. I don't want to hear those two names in the same sentence ever again. MJ never had 2 games in a row like Kobe had in Boston. So can we please stop that?
Yeah, it's true, especially not in his prime. And
not in his prime, exactly.
And MJ worked the refs, but he never let the refs take him out of what he was trying to do, and never actually got affected by the refs.
He also had Plan B and Plan C. I mean, if Kobe's having a hard time scoring the basketball in Game 1, why isn't he posting up Ray Allen? Why aren't they figuring out a way to get him the ball in the low post?
It's true. You're right. MJ had Plan A, and then Plan B was post up. Plan C was just, I'm going to take it to the hoop every time and get fouls.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Kobe sticks to Plan A, and if Plan A is not working, he just gets mad at the refs. And I've written about this a million times, but the defining MJ game for me was Game 7 of the 98 Eastern Finals against Indiana, when he had dead legs, wasn't making his shot, and just was like a running back the last 10 minutes. Just, I'm getting to the basket, I'm getting to the rim, and you guys are going to have to foul me and put me to the line. And he did it. I don't see that from Kobe yet. I don't see that intensity. I don't see that wherewithal that, okay, this is the only way I'm going to get points in this game, so I got to do it.
Yeah, the flash of intensity, and you mentioned this in the column a couple days ago, was, for 7.5 or 6.5 minutes at the end of the fourth quarter of Game 2. If we'd seen that in Game 1, might have brought about a different outcome. And for sure, the entirety of Game 2, if that had been going on, it might be a little bit different scenario than right now. And people wouldn't be talking about the foul discrepancy from Game 2 because he would have got to the free throw line another 10 times.
How do you feel about the Zen Master in this series versus Doc Rivers? Because I actually have to give the advantage to Doc through 3 games.
I'm not going to ever give the advantage to Doc under any circumstances in any coaching matchup that doesn't involve Mike Brown. But I've been very underwhelmed. I think Phil is a little hamstrung by his personnel, though. I mean, I'm not going to make excuses for him, but those guys are who they are. What can he say to Vladimir Radmanovich to get him to go play better?
Well, I would counter that Kobe should have been guarding Rondo for the entire series because that's how Cleveland defended us and almost beat us. I would argue that maybe Radmanovich, you don't start him against Pierce because he's just going to get in foul trouble. Maybe you switch who's starting in that game. I would argue that they should have pressured the Boston guards full court for the whole series and not just when they were down 24. These are all valid things that maybe they should have done, right? Yeah,
I guess so. And the counter, I get the counter arguments to all of that. You don't want Kobe expending so much energy defensively. And Van Gundy made this point, and it's a good point. It's why Van Gundy would not have Kobe on his first team all-defense team because Kobe needs to take defensive trips off, and they protect him in that way.
And he gambles a lot, too.
And that's right. I mean, but when he's, man-on-man defender, he is for sure one of the top 5 defenders in the league. They just can't have him, using his resources in that way.
As you know, I've been at all of these games. I have not watched them on TV. What am I missing from the TV broadcast?
What are you missing from the TV broadcast?
You like the announcers, right?
Yeah, I was a little. I sort of reached my saturation point with those guys a little bit, but I really thought the last 2 games, Game 2 and Game 3, were excellent. And
saturation point. It's funny how to actually have my friends try to word their words carefully to get it on the podcast and not to take it out. It's funny that my friends know how to do this.
We know how to play the game, Daddy. I don't want to get edited. It's my prime time.
How about the commercials and all that stuff and the TV timeouts? You happy with that?
No, I mean the
7-minute TV
timeouts. I can't take how long the games are. It's been infuriating to me. That every game ends at 11:45, but
All right, give me your prediction for the last 4 games.
I actually think the Celtics are going to win in 7.
7?
Yeah.
Because too much money at stake, so they'll make it go 7?
I think that's right. I think that the Lakers are going to win Thursday. I think the Lakers are probably going to win Game 5. That's Sunday, right?
Yep.
And then I like the Celtics to close them out at home. I just don't think the Lakers can win in Boston.
Do you think in all seriousness, as my friend, do you think my dad can survive a 7th game of a Boston Lakers finals at age 60?
You better keep him at home. I would not let him go to the stadium.
I mean, I really think that it's a bad idea for him to go, right?
He should sell that ticket. He should sell it right now. Just make sure you don't sell it to a Laker fan.
No, we'd take somebody else. I'm really worried about him because Yeah, as I wrote in game 1, with 4 minutes left in a close game, he pulled out a wad of cash out of his pocket and was just counting it and didn't know why or what he was doing. I mean, it was like watching a nursing home patient.
Well, the other thing I'm worried about with your dad, I don't want him to have to go to the bathroom inside of the last 2 minutes.
He's just going on himself. I haven't written about it, but he's using adult diapers. It's been
I'm very proud of the doc.
It's been an innovation for us in the finals. No, he's been pretty good. He's been racing up and down a couple of days. Bathroom right there, so he's been okay. But, I mean, if he can't deal with game 1, game 7, yikes.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We may have to call him.
You can't have him in the same calendar year going through the Patriots game and a game 7 Lakers Celtics.
Well,
don't you care about him?
Well, he's flying to L.A. to go to game 5 with me.
Oh, that's going to be a big one.
I'm thinking if we win game 4 on Thursday, Dad and I are at game 5, and they clinch in L.A. Now, I don't want to jinx it. I'm just saying this is my perfect case scenario.
Yeah.
That would kind of erase the stain of Super Bowl 42 for me a little bit.
Yeah, I'll go along with that.
Not totally, but a little bit.
Yeah, sure. It would be an enormous help.
All right, go to your meeting and be a professional and do work stuff.
Right on.
Talk to you later.
Late.
So I get to sign off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.